Each of them now has come to the U of M. Each of them has transferred from the University of Memphis. The last one was Chandler. He decided to enter the transfer portal yesterday. So no one knows that I know of where he's going. We know Jonathan is going to Creighton. So Diedrich, after being freshman of the year and the league's player of the year, transferred away. He went to Kansas, and KJ followed. Then KJ ended up at Tulane to end his career. We know Chandler started at Oregon, came to Memphis, and he's departing again. And Jonathan started, redshirted, played a year, didn't produce as much points or get the same kind of minutes he thought he was going to get, and he's on his way to Creighton. So that's it. As far as I know, the Lawsons, that generation, are done.
And until they have kids,
Right.
then we'll probably go through this again. And what would that be? I guess 20 years.
I think in terms of producing collegiate athletes, basketball players in the city, they might be the Mannings, right? The Lawsons?
That's right.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so.
But they don't stick around. And they're not sticking around this time. And the only thing I can think of, when Jonathan left, he saw crowded backfield, crowded backcourt, I should say, and thought he could get more minutes, change the scenery. I think kids should go away. I really do. I've said that with Malcolm Dandridge. I think it's good to see what life was like outside of Shelby County. Chandler had already done that. Chandler leaving tells me a couple of possibilities. And I don't really know the total answer to all this. I'm speculating, just like everybody else at this point. But it would tell me they really kind of think DeAndre Williams is coming back. They've already got Leonard, and they've got Pierre. They got a bunch of guys up front that could take minutes away. And maybe there's more coming. As Jason Munn said yesterday, it's not over. There are going to be a couple more people signed. And so maybe Chandler sees the writing on the wall that he can't beat these guys out who may be coming in. These guys know what's going on. And so in his mind, he said, I want to go where I can play. I don't blame him. He didn't play a lot of minutes. He didn't get a lot of production. I thought when he was in there, he actually played pretty well. I thought the minutes, I don't know what his plus-minus was, but I'll bet it was plus. If you can look that up real quick. And so, maybe it'll be a better thing for him to go somewhere. Look, he was a good enough prospect to go to Oregon, right? Now, that didn't work out, but he was good enough to be wooed away from Shelby County by Dana Altman and got to go to a Power 5 school that is a pretty traditional Power 5 school when it comes to hoops. So good for him for that. Then he came here, and look, he just couldn't beat out guys. But he was a rotation guy. You got his numbers there?
Yeah, but I don't see his cumulative plus minus.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they do that. It's hard to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't really see that.
What
player efficiency rating though is 15, which I feel like that's fairly good for a college player. Like really good is 30, so that I would imagine 15 is probably around average.
Well, for a rotation guy, I mean,
that's right.
He came. How many games did he play?
He played 35 last year.
So 35 games.
Started 24 of them.
There you go. So he was a solid guy.
57% shooter.
Right. I actually started shooting some threes toward the end, if I recall.
Yeah, it took about half a three a game, so not a ton, but shot 50% of them.
There you go. So he'll probably end up being a decent rotation player somewhere. I wish him the very best. He was really, both brothers were delightful to be around. They were. The only time I can really say I hold this against the Lawsons was what they did when their father was an assistant coach to Tubby Smith in Dallas, Texas, when they absolutely quit on the team. That was a 40-point loss to SMU, and they just decided they weren't going to play. And that was a disgraceful moment in my mind. Other than that, Diedrich and KJ were good guys. When Diedrich wanted to play, he was the best guy on the floor most of the time. And I thought Jonathan and Chandler were delightful guys. I really do. I know for the Penny Hardaway TV show, we did a feature on the two of them. They were funny. And I think that they were good soldiers who played hard. They didn't quit like their two brothers did in Dallas, Texas. I can tell you that. And I wish him the best of luck. But it does tell me Penny's got some people coming in. Or he would have enticed Chandler, I think, to stick around. So we'll have to wait and see on that story. But this is unique. I've been racking my brain to see if I can ever remember a new college basketball team with just about Zippo from the roster of the year before. So think about it. Only one player from last year's team that went to the NCAA tournament, that beat a number one in Houston, that had a great regular season, only one player, the coach's son, Jaden Hardaway, is back. Can you recall, because this is your deal, college sports, college basketball, where you were a coach, J-Mo, can you in your mind ever remember a total revamp where only one player, when you've got 13 scholarships and usually 15 guys on the bench, where only one player, even Memphis's walk-on, Connor Glennon is gone. One guy is back from this team. I can't remember that ever happening.
So certainly not on any competitive or like good teams, quite frankly. I mean, it's just not usually a recipe. But I will say this is a new era of college sports, specifically college basketball, where that's more and more common. And not that women's game always parallels the men's game, but on the women's side, the national champion just had one player returning on their team at LSU. Those are all transfers on that team. And I understand the women's game is very different, but it's changing quite a bit.
Are you saying Memphis can win the national title?
No. I would be surprised if a team like that, I mean, unless you get you can still get DeAndre and Malcolm back there, so that would be 2 and 3 guys.
Let's just say this, okay? Let's say Mikey Williams, based on what Jason Munn said yesterday, because when I saw the hearing delayed, I did not look at that as positive. He did. So let's say he's right. Let's say charges are dropped July 12th or whenever that next hearing was scheduled for. I think that's the date. So Mikey Williams comes. And DeAndre Williams, from what I've gathered, there's a real confidence by precedent that he's going to get another year. You get those two guys, and Mikey Williams is a decent player. Now you're adding some pretty decent players. David Jones, who was at St. John's. Caleb Mills, player of the year in the American Athletic Conference 4 years ago, whatever it was, when he was with Houston. And decent numbers in the ACC with Florida State. And he's talking about how good everybody is. You got Jonathan Pierre. That's like the wild card. Is he, I hate to say it like this, but is he like KO from last year? Or is he going to be a solid guy? Like, say, Will Coleman was several years ago, who came in. I'm not saying he was a star, but he was a solid banger, right? Is that what Jonathan Pierre is going to be? We know he's a wing protector. Is Leonard from Middle Tennessee State? Some say he could have been a draft guy, a second-round pick this year. Is he going to live up to the deal? I know what Nick Jourdain can do. Nick Jourdain in the game that Memphis lost. No, they won that game in Temple on the last second shot. But Nick Jourdain was really good, like 20 points against Memphis. Nick Jourdain can have some games. He's a solid guy. If you're going to add, there were two guys he mentioned. One was from Kentucky yesterday, and one is the other guy that a lot of schools are after that I'm trying to remember what school um, he went to. There's two guys out there that Memphis has shots at. I mean, if they were to get these two guys and any of these other freshmen, and apparently Carl Sharonfont is supposed to be playing really, really good. We know Ashton Hardaway is a guy that can launch it from outside. And Jaden Hardaway was solid enough last year. I mean, if he's your seventh, eighth, ninth guy, that's pretty good. I mean, that's a team. If you, like I'm saying, get these guys in, that's a team that can make the NCAA tournament, I think. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm maybe I'm going to look at this as half full, being the homer I am many times accused of being. But the Chandler Lawson transfer says to me something good is coming. You know, there's an old song from West Side Story. Who knows? Could be. We'll see. Something good is coming.
I'm scouring the internet for the kid in Kentucky in the transfer portal that's looking, but I can't find his name anymore.
Well,
I'm so sorry.
He's no longer there. Remember, he's at Illinois State trying to get his degree done so he can enter the portal. I don't even remember. I hate to say this. I don't remember the position. The other kid's a big guy. He's a center, 6'11" guy. That is in the portal. And
Antonio Reeves.
That's the kid from Kentucky.
That's right.
What does he play?
I guess a guard, because they're touting he shoots almost 40% from three.
Wow. So, you pick up Reeves. You pick up that other big guy. That may be too many. Anyway, just food for thought. I know we'll talk about this on Thursday a bunch because our friend Russell Copeland will join us, and so is Jarvis Greer. But a lot of stuff on the showboats being back next year. Moose Johnston basically told Doc Holliday on his little showboat show that they do, the weekly showboat show that is on Channel 5 Digital. He basically said, oh, yeah, Memphis is definitely in the works for next year. But he was not that totally lock solid when he spoke to Tim Buckley from the Daily Memphian. By the way, although he's not going to hear this because he's on the air now, but Jeff Calkins is stepping down as being a sports columnist to be more of a city columnist for the Daily Memphian. So we wish him the best in that endeavor. Still be talking sports, I know, and I'm sure on occasion we'll write sports stories. But he's kind of moving over. But Tim Buckley, who will do a lot more of the sports columns, I suspect, for the Daily Memphian now. Tim Buckley, when was pressing Moose Johnston, didn't get sort of the same answers, at least not in the story that I read, where he's going, we got to have more people come. And I know that that Fox, that I think is making ends meet. They're not losing money like the XFL, that's for sure. But I think they would like some local participation. They want local ownership. So they want somebody to come in, and I doubt you'd have to buy in, but you'd have to take over some financial responsibilities. So you would probably get, and I'm not 100% on any of this. I'm speculating about the business end of this. But I would bet you would be like Major League Baseball with their AAA, AA, single A teams. They pay the players. They provide the equipment. I think travel is paid for by the local ownership group. I think that's right. The rental of the ballpark, that's, I think, paid by the local ownership group. So there is a certain amount of financial expenditures you've got to make if you're the local owner. You would get in-house sponsorship money, all the signage in the ballpark, your radio deal. You would get all ticket revenue, all suite revenue would come your way. Now, I don't think you can make money that way. If Fox says, and we'll give you X% of the TV revenue because they're making all the money on spots. And that's basically, think of it in these terms, I've said this before, but they have to pay the stars, the writers, the directors, the producers. They got to pay all those people for a sitcom. There's a certain amount of expense with TV programming. That's how they view the XFL. Those are salaries. Those are the rentals. Those are the insurance. Those are the travel. They'd like a little break on the expenditures so they can make a little bit more money. I think they're at least at break even. Because if you sell out at $30,000 a spot, which is what they're usually get for that kind of rating point, and you sell out all these things, you got like $130 million coming in. I don't think they're spending $130 million. You know, I did some pen and pencil with Steve Earhart, who was the general manager of a pro team and has been commissioner of a couple of leagues. And he thinks their budgets, all told for the 8 teams, somewhere between 80 and 100. So there is profit that can be made if you view it just as an expense for TV programming. And so that's why I think the USFL is going to continue, because I think that Fox did okay with this. Whereas the XFL, they're on ESPN. ESPN doesn't charge them to be on there, but they don't get any of the television revenue. So how are they making money? The only ballpark that I've ever seen in the XFL that was filled is St. Louis, where they're drawing 30 or 40,000 a game. It's a pretty good story. That, by the way, if there's a merger or if the XFL goes away, if I were the USFL, I would jump to get that team.
Well, that's kind of like what you're saying, and you're talking about expansion too. All that stuff makes sense at the same time. I think it was Steve Macy said, I heard him say a couple days ago or maybe last week, that as of right now, the Houston team and these host cities, they're not looking to separate again and go to like Houston, for instance, go to Houston. They're going to stay as having 2 teams in the host city for now. And that was surprising to me. I would have imagined the next step.
When did he say that?
Maybe he said that during Sports Time last week.
Is that right?
It must have been, because if it wasn't on your show, it must have been on Sports Time.
Wow.
But I was surprised to hear that. And it could change. I'm not saying that's set in stone.
So that is part of the reason, and that's why Memphis is a desirable place, is that Birmingham has been a host city, right? They did all the teams last year, 2 of the teams this year. The proximity between Memphis and Birmingham, 3 hours away, is a bus ride. So you've got that whole division within a bus ride. You don't have to pay for planes. You got to pay for a plane to go to Detroit. You got to pay for a plane to go to Canton. You know, it would make sense to me. Canton doesn't have a team. But apparently, of all the hubs, Canton draws the best. Canton, you know why the Hall of Fame is in Canton? Because they had one of the initial NFL teams. They were the Canton Bulldogs. Why wouldn't you say, Canton, you got a team, you're the Canton Bulldogs? And erase either any one of those teams, because they're not in Pittsburgh, they're not in New Jersey. Why not do that? At least the Michigan Panthers are in Detroit. And I don't think that drew all that well. So,
well, then there's 2 teams you can add then. Let's say the XFL is defunct. You could add a St. Louis team, which you know would draw well, and add a Canton team if you do end up expanding to those cities that have the namesake. Those are 2 teams you could expand with, 1 in each division there.
But in order for them, I would think, if somebody in Houston, because Houston's got an XFL team too, right? And they are actually in Houston.
Right.
If somebody in Houston, let's just say Fertitta, because he owns everything, right? Let's say Fertitta goes, you know what? I'll buy that team. Give me 20% of your TV revenues, though, so I have a chance to make it, and we'll see what we can do. Then Houston's not going to be here. It's no longer going to be part of a hub town. It's going to be in Houston. I think that's the direction that they truly want to take this, but we will have to wait and see on all of that. So I'm sitting in the Family Leisure studio. A reminder to you, you got till this Sunday, the 25th, to get the Come Out and Play sale, where if you want a pool, it starts at under $2,500, and the play gyms are 30% off. And if you buy in stock patio furniture or spas, you get $1,000 off, and there's special financing available. You got another week to get to the Come Out and Play sale right there at I-40 and Wooden Road, Family Leisure. Our title sponsor, it's Homer. I'm tall. Got to call them today about something. Can't wait to talk to Chris True and see what he's got cooking. Last time I called, he goes, Wolo, we got this deal on the Genesis G70. If you finance with Genesis, you get a $1,000 rebate. Why wouldn't you go see Vinny Gerard? He's the guy over all of them. Tell him we sent you and say, I want the financing deal. I mean, it's a great rate and a $1,000 rebate. They're paying you to do business with them at Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch. We take a break. When we come back to Tampa, we go. Our friend TJ Reeves is standing by. He comes your way next on Wolo and Friends.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter code FLEXIBLE at checkout. That's harrys.com, code FLEXIBLE. Enjoy!
Looking for a new lawnmower? Golf Cars of Hernando has the Gravely line of zero-turn lawnmowers in stock, and they work on them. Looking for a new golf cart? Golf Cars of Hernando has Yamaha and Star brands of golf carts in stock, and they also service most makes and models of golf cars. Financing is available with applicable credit at Golf Cars of Hernando. Call today, 662-429-1566, 662-429-1566. Golf Cars of Hernando.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Oh, it's going to be in the upper 80s today and tomorrow and the next day. Humidity is slowly rising. How's your air conditioning system doing? I worry about that for you. I never worry about me. I'll tell you why. Because I'm a Conway Comfort Club member. You don't have to be a Comfort Club member, but I urge you, twice a year, get the Conway tune-up. At least in the summer, for sure. Because when it gets hot like that, if your system breaks down, your house is a sauna. Now you're going to have to call emergency services. That costs you more. This is preventative medicine. It's like chicken soup. All you got to do is call 384-3511, 384-3511. Call Conway. They come out and they do this 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up. So they get everything in rhythm inside your house. They go outside and clean up all the outside units, all the dirt, the grime, the leaves. Now your system's efficient. You're not going to have that breakdown. And you save MLGW money because you're in tune. Your system's in rhythm. And then if it's in tune and in rhythm, it lasts longer. It's just simple. $69 to keep your system perfect. 384-3511. Please call Conway. To Tampa we go, where I suspect it is even hotter. TJ Reeves joins us now. What was your sense of a pretty good U.S. Open? At least it kept you on the edge of your seat till the end of the tournament, although it wasn't like a regular U.S. Open when it's 10 under that wins it.
Yeah, no doubt. Good to be with you. Yes, balmy in Tampa. Feels like temperature right now about 101 degrees at 11:30 in the morning, and still going up.
Oh yeah, gosh,
and still going up. Although I keep saying to you, and it's now been a while, we were reminiscing about this weekend. That
you're going to tell me the Memphis Zoo with your twins when they were younger.
That was. By the way, that was 8 years ago that I was in studio with you that morning,
Jeez.
And I brought the donuts that day. And later that
Gibson's.
day, the Gibson's donuts.
Yeah.
I sweated those donuts out through my pores at the Memphis Zoo that day. It was blazing hot in the River City. Because it was literally like 107 or 108 heat index. So you're right with Conway. I'm just promoting Conway here.
There
you didn't
you
have
go.
to do this.
I love
Get
it.
the air conditioning fixed now before July gets there, folks. Do it. Back to the U.S. Open. Never fails to deliver on interest, intrigue, storylines. I didn't get to hear you, but from my standpoint, I wanted Ricky Fowler for a lot of reasons to finish that off and to win it. Not that Wyndham Clark's not a great story. And look, let's be honest, it would have been tremendous if McIlroy could have finished it off, but more on that in a minute, because he hasn't won a major in 9 years, Rory McIlroy. 9 years. Who would have thought that back 10, 15 years ago that he would go 9 years in his prime without winning one? But in any event, Fowler is a tremendous story for several reasons, not the least of which is he is tremendous to deal with. He is tremendous on a lot of levels with people that can't help him out, that aren't doing anything for him, how he treats people, treats staff, treats volunteers at tournaments. He is a great guy. And he has really rededicated himself to trying to fix his game and become an elite player again, a major champion. He turned down the Live Golf money, which Uncle Wolo loves. He said no to that.
I love Ricky for that. I do.
Stuck around to try to make a go of it. And he was, in command of this thing right up until Saturday night, where he had the 3-putt on the 18th green that obviously would rattle anybody. And our buddy Paul Azinger, I love Zinger, said right away, that's the kind of thing that you now have to sleep on and think about until all the way till tomorrow afternoon when you tee off. And he just did not look the same from the very beginning Sunday. So that was disappointing for him, because he never really challenged. But Wyndham Clark's a great story, and the U.S. Open always seems to deliver, my friend.
Well, it does. I like it a little tougher than it was, honestly. I don't like a finishing hole where the width of the fairway is 65 yards instead of the 25 to 30 that it normally is. But I am just like you. I mean, we don't often totally agree on things. I was for Ricky in this. I was for Ricky all the way because he's a great story. Let's face it. He's won several times, but the last one was 5 years ago, and it was a Players' Championship. Is the only really good one he's got. He's made plenty of money because he was a marketing genius. He had a look. People loved it. He capitalized on it, and he's a good guy. And turning down $75 million when you're struggling, not like when you're making a lot of money, but when you're struggling, and you turn down that money because you believe in the PGA Tour and legacy and history, that says a lot about character. So
he showed up. He showed up at that big meeting that they had last year at the Tiger event when everything was basically in play, and there was a lot of belief that he was going to jump and others were going to jump after the initial wave. And he was vocal in that meeting about sustaining the PGA Tour and how important. So he's one of the key guys. But, I mean, again, we're talking about millionaires, and he's a millionaire. I get that. He made a ton of money he's made a ton of money already this year on the tour. It's not just about the money, but for him to get into major championships right now, he's got to move up in the World Golf Rankings, which he just did, or he's got to win something because he wasn't in the U.S. Open last year. He wasn't in the Masters this year. He's not qualified.
Because he wasn't in the top 50 at that point, but he's worked his way to the top 50.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't know that he is qualified for the Open Championship. Maybe he is on the basis now of that finish
I
at the U.S. Open to get him into Hoy Lake. I don't know the answer to that.
I think he is by OWGR. I think he's top 50.
Yeah, right.
So,
he moved up.
So you get, well, he was top 50, so I got into the U.S. Open. The McIlroy story, 9 years? That's amazing.
Yep.
I mean, the guy won the FedEx Cup in, $15 million last year. So, and because he's a PGA Tour spokesperson now, I mean, I'm all for him too. I really, my second guy after Fowler was him. But I don't know why he hasn't been able to win a major. He won 4 in a short period of time, and now the Wonder Kid, 9 years without a win.
And we should qualify just like you just did. He's won PGA Tour playoff events and the FedEx Cup. He's won tournaments. He had won the Canadian Open each of the previous 2 years, and then he was in contention this year. It's not as if he hasn't won, but if we were having this conversation in 2014 and 15, and come to think of it, you and I were having this conversation in and around 2014, 2015, and you would say Rory McIlroy in his prime will go 9 years without winning a major.
Yeah, we would have said
Tiger Woods never, in his
8 or 9.
prime, Tiger never went Wolo more than about 2 years, 2.5, 3 years at any point. So now you're talking about a 5th cycle of majors, a 6th cycle of majors where you don't break through and win one of them, 7, 8. Now, if he doesn't win the Open Championship, it will be 9 cycles of major championships where he doesn't get it done. And, I don't know. At this point, he does not belong in the conversation with the likes of Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus as one of the all-time greats because he hasn't done enough in the biggest events.
Oh, I agree with that. There's no way he does. We would have said 9 years ago that he might win 8 majors by the time he was this age.
Easily. And by now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And here's the other aspect. I don't know that we'll ever see runs like Tiger and Jack because it seems to me there are just too many good players now, more than in Jack's and in Tiger's era.
And I should prop you up, as I always try to do. You've been talking about depth of field. That's the phrase. Depth of field for like 10 or 15 years when we've been talking about this, that there are so many tremendous players worldwide that are now there that weren't there even 15 years ago, much less 25 or 30 years ago, much less in the 70s and the 80s when it was Nicklaus and Watson, and I'll leave somebody out, Trevino, and all the players of
Johnny
the 70s
Miller.
and the 80s, Johnny Miller. They weren't competing against 30 or 40 other guys that could win majors in and around them in their prime.
That's exactly
right. That's what it is now.
Well, and just take a look. I mean, when you take an examination of Wyndham Clark a year ago, just a year ago, he was 293 in the OWGR, 293 in the world rankings. And now he's won 2 tournaments in 5 weeks. He's won a U.S. Open. He's become a great story. I'm so happy for him because he's a good guy. And but that's the kind of thing we're talking about now. A guy that was 293 a year ago just won a major.
Back to the whole storyline stuff and Ricky Fowler and his class. Did you see this about what he was telling? You couldn't hear it, but he's now talked about it afterwards, what he was telling Wyndham Clark when he was hugging him after the 18th green. Because he came back over and said it to him, I think, the second time. Like the first time,
he said your mother would be proud, right?
Yes. He came back over and hugged him and said, his mother died 10 years ago from cancer, from breast cancer. And Ricky Fowler made sure, because it's almost like he had forgotten in that moment, I need to make sure that I say this to him. And they're Oklahoma State guys. Wyndham Clark came to Oklahoma State after Ricky Fowler, but they played collegiately at the same place. Again, root for a guy like Ricky Fowler, because that's a class thing, because that was a crushing Sunday for him, because that's, again, a chance to play in every major from here on out, which he may still be qualified for several of them, not the Masters necessarily, but he may be qualified for several of them for the next couple of years. But the prestige of winning your first major, to win a U.S. Open, all of that was within his grasp, and it's in California, and he's a California guy. He had to be crushed with the way he played Sunday, and yet The class came out of him to go and hug on Wyndham Clark, who, again, he's gotten hot here as of late. I don't know that Wyndham Clark ever does anything in a major championship again. There's no guarantee about that.
No.
We don't know, but he
right.
certainly put it together in Los Angeles.
Well, he's putting it together this year total. All right, I'm going to switch gears real quick, and I want to talk NBA draft with you. I know you're doing a national show on all of that.
Yep.
But first, I want to throw you a little curveball. We didn't talk about this.
Do it.
July 21st. Does that mean anything to you in Central Florida, where it's really all about South Florida? But I just wonder if the state's reverberating. July 21st. Mean anything?
Is July 21st when UCF officially is on board as a Big 12 school?
No.
Is that maybe where you're going?
No.
All right, I took a guess there.
No.
What else you got?
It is the debut of Messi with Inter Miami soccer.
He got a Woloshin-esque type deal. He got a Woloshin type deal to go to Inter Miami. $60 million a year.
I know.
And this is not even prime.
Hold
Messi.
it. Do you realize he turned down a 2-year $1 billion deal with the Saudis? Seriously. He's making a quarter
I would
of the
love
money.
to be. Wait. I would love to be in a position to turn down a $1 million deal.
Yeah.
Did you say he turned down
Yes.
a $1 billion deal?
Yes. For 2 years instead of the 4-year $250 that he got from you from Inter Miami.
I know. Well, and this is not even the prime of his career. This is towards the end now, if not the end of his career. But he's gonna infuse some real interest into Major League Soccer and into this, and we'll see what he has still left in the tank. I know it's a big deal right now in this state because obviously it is a huge. It's a state that has tremendous fan base among the Caribbean countries, Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Dominican, Argentina. They all follow the world sport in this state. So this is a much, much bigger deal in Miami and in Tampa, and maybe even a little bit in Orlando, because Orlando has had an MLS team now for about 7 or 8 years, and they are very well attended. So it's fascinating as this continues to percolate along. And I still remember, this is how old I am, and we go back. And you used to do the Rogues, and we joke about this in the 80s, the NASL.
Well,
Soccer was a humongous deal while you were doing the Rogues in Tampa with the Rowdies and Rodney Marsh.
Yeah. Well, it started with the
still
Americans
alive and
for
still
me.
around this area some.
Yeah.
He's in the UK and around. So we're going way back. But I move it forward to MLS starting, and the Tampa Bay team, the Tampa Bay Mutiny, that was only in existence for a few years before the Orlando team ever came into existence, they got a player from Colombia named Carlos Valderrama with the wild, people will know the wild afro wig that Valderrama had. Not a wig, but the hair. The hair arrived 3 minutes before he did, Wolo, and everything.
Yeah, right.
And Valderrama was a humongous star with the Latin, Spanish-speaking community in Tampa Bay, because people kept saying, you don't understand because you're part of the English-speaking American sports fan culture of the NFL, Major League Baseball, basketball, golf, those kind of things. This guy coming here is a massive deal to anybody that follows the world sport. In perspective, if you're a Central American soccer fan or a South American soccer fan, he's legendary. And they were right. And they had the bobblehead dolls, and they had the shirts, and they had the wigs. They had all the stuff that they marketed for a couple of years. Now, again, he's nowhere near the world talent, and I know you want to move on, but they marketed the daylights around him to a different fan base, and that's what's also going on with Memphis.
And you know what? There's a USL Championship rivalry with Memphis and Tampa that still goes on.
Yes.
Tampa's still very good. All right, because we're going to run out of time here, and I got Adam Walker coming up. Is this a good
draft?
I know. Is this a good NBA draft, and will Victor Wembanyama become the next LeBron James? Is he that
So I keep hearing that.
generational?
I keep hearing that, and let's just put a little more pressure on the guy, why don't we?
Yeah, sure.
To try to live up to that he's a transcendent talent, a generational talent, and maybe he's going to be great, and hopefully he is going to be great. And then again, he can, turn into Ben Simmons or Michael Olowokandi or a lot of the other guys that got picked number one. Hopefully not. Anthony Bennett. Remember when the Cleveland Cavaliers could have picked anybody they wanted, and they picked the UNLV forward Anthony Bennett? I mean, there are some moments there are some moments in this draft. There were a lot of people that had question marks about Ben Simmons, even recently.
Yeah,
and he got picked number 1 above everybody else.
How about going back Sam Bowie and Michael Jordan?
Oh, my God, yes. Or Darko after LeBron. Darko gets picked before Carmelo Anthony, immediately before him. Where, again, you shake your head at what are these. And so it's going to happen. It's going to happen Thursday night. You're going to have a team in the top 5 that's going to pick someone that's a flaming bust.
The Grizzlies know that one from the beat when they could have had Steph Curry, right?
That was the Grizzlies, right?
In that, yeah.
He was 4th, am I correct? Was he 4th or 5th?
Second,
my God. You could have had every other player, and I'm sure there were all-stars, in that opening round, and you just fell enamored with the size, the shot blocking, et cetera, and you talk yourself into that guy. And we've seen it over and over again, even recently. Again, I go back to Ben Simmons to harp on that. I was one of the ones on the front end that said, I don't see it. There's no jump shot. There's no ball handling. How is he going to function at the next level and be successful as an offensive player for you to take him number 1 overall? And look how that turned out. Yeah. So we'll see. That's coming up Thursday night.
You think it's a good draft, real quick?
The only thing that I continue to question, and I'm doing this preview show in a couple of hours, is there's not nearly enough that we know about some of these guys. This Scoot Jackson that's been playing in the G League. How many of us know a lot about him? Yeah. These Thompson twins that have been playing in another league, or Wembanyama, we haven't seen them. Yeah. So I can't say. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm copping out on you, aren't I?
Yeah.
I'm copping out.
Well, Scoot Henderson, by the way, is
Scoot Henderson. I said the name.
Is the G League. Who knows about overtime elite? And Thompson is high on the list. I don't know either. I'm with you, so I guess time will tell. As always, hey, this is a sad moment. I'm not going to talk to you for a couple of weeks. You're off next week.
Reeves family vacation next week. I love you, but I can't break away from the beach and Disney. So we got vacay, and then 2 weeks from today is July 4th.
Right.
And you're going to be patriotic, and I'm going to be patriotic.
I'm off.
So we'll be back in a couple of weeks. After all this takes place, we'll break bread again on a Tuesday. Anytime you need me, you know where to find me.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Have a great vacation.
You guys behave. Always good to be on with you, Wolo. Stay cool.
I will. That's our man, TJ. Where it's hot down there in Tampa. And he's brought you in part by Memphis Public Golf. Speaking about hot, what a good deal Memphis Public Golf is. And they keep making it better. I had so much fun at the new Overton Park. Saturday, that's when Pine Hill opens. Call now to make a reservation because it's not going to be a full field. They have cart things, parking things that are still being done. The clubhouse won't be built till the fall. Completed, I should say. But the course is opening officially on Saturday. Call today to see if you can get in to the new and spectacular Pine Hill Golf Course. And don't forget, we got Audubon coming in a few months. Back in a minute, an old friend who's leaving, unfortunately, Adam Walker, Associate AD in charge of basketball. He comes on to reminisce in just a minute.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does with your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff. Just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
I have so many people tell me they hear my ads on this station and that they want to know if I'm really as bad a golfer as everyone says. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. And yes, I hate to say I am. I wish I were in my 90s because I could then tell people I shoot my age. But being a bad golfer is not terrible because I devote so much of my time to selling homes to keep my clients happy. Over the many years in the real estate business, I developed a highly successful strategic marketing program, not merely a listing program. Using preparation, presentation, and proper pricing, it works. If you're thinking of selling, talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers and make sure that I am one of them. Find out why people often say that when you want the job done, call Shell Dunn. That's Shell Dunn Rosengarten, 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now. Shell Dunn, 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com.
Do you have over $10,000 in credit card debt? If you're feeling the financial impact with unprecedented economic challenges, DebtBlue is here for you. With DebtBlue's Success Guarantee, you pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved.
I'm just living sky high right now. I'm very thankful for it, and the team at DebtBlue are phenomenal. They're able to work with you. They're great.
Call for your free debt resolution information now. 800-200-6895. 800-200-6895.
It's the season for a new ride from Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat 1901 Covington Pike. Talk about huge savings. Gossett's got 2023 Dodge Charger SXT, and we Gossett at $30,990 or $428 a month. You ready to roam? How about a 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport 4x4? We Gossett now just $640 a month, and you'll find Dodge Muscle in your 2022 Dodge Charger Scat Pack. We're talking $4,000 off at Gossett. And if we don't have exactly what you're looking for, Gossett will order it for you today. So drive past the rest and come to the best at Gossett on the Pike or shop online at GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we Gossett at Gossett Motor Cars.
84 months at 6.99 APR, 3,500 down. Charger PH 504,815, MSRP 35,630. Gladiator PL 55,6199, MSRP 52,970. Charger NH 267,934, MSRP 57,715. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through the end of the month. Dealer stock only.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Kind of a sad day. There's a going-away party for a guy I really like, Adam Walker, Associate AD for Memphis basketball, in charge of that. He's going to go back to his alma mater. We'll talk to him in a second. This portion brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. There's another Tiger guy, 901-386-GUR. He's got GUR in his phone number to protect you for insurance because he loves the University of Memphis. That's 4777-386-4777. He wants to get to know you. That's the way he does insurance. It's called collaboration. He'll sit you down. He'll get to know all about your family, what's important, what your budget is, and then he'll figure out a home program for you, auto, life insurance. It'll absolutely protect you. Same thing with small to mid-sized businesses. If you have a need, he's going to sit you down and get to know your product, your employees, what your budget is, and then especially small to mid-sized businesses, he figures out how to protect you. Again, that number is 386-GUR. It's the Eflin Insurance Team. Adam Walker had a tough decision to make. Go back home to Kansas State where he competed in track. Stay here. You chose to go home, Adam Walker. What's up?
Yeah, thanks, Wolo. And by the way, that's probably the nicest thing you ever said to me, that you're going to miss me. So, no,
I'll tell you where I won't miss you when you're my teammate in golf. No, I'm kidding.
That is true. So, I had an opportunity to go back home to K-State, and I use that term loosely because, frankly, it kind of offends me a little bit. Kansas and K-State is home to me. But, man, Memphis has been home for almost 13 years, so I feel like a Memphian. So this has been home to us, and, man, we're going to miss it. But we got a great opportunity to go back to K-State.
Tell me your favorite parts about the U of M and where you think the strengths of the school are. And now you can kind of look at it objectively as an outsider. So give us your take about where you think the university is at this very moment.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize this. I've been here almost 13 years, 12 and a half years, and I came in under RC.
Right.
So I got to work with RC for a little while, a year and a half or so, and then, obviously Tom Bowen and Resurrection of Football, and now Laird Veach, which we've got a great team right now. But it's great to see the progress, to be a part of a couple things that we weren't able to get done for so long. That football indoor facility, thank goodness it's up. It is beautiful. The Lori Walton Center, absolutely immaculate, and it wouldn't have been done without donors. And the neat thing about the Lori Walton Center is 100% privately funded. So it didn't get done if it wasn't for the great supporters and ambassadors. So just to be able to see, ambassador program that RC started,
I got here as about 32 people, and now we're up to 88, which is just incredible. So just to see the people invest, and you can see that return on investment. You see it in football, you see it in basketball, women's soccer, so many other sports that we're doing so well in. So that's the neat thing, is to see the institution get R1, great academic status, the campus, the beautification, under President Rudd and now Hargrave has just been tremendous. So just seeing the progress with the city, it's never been better in terms of relationship with the mayor and the state, and receiving that, $350 million from the state to the city. I mean, that doesn't happen without collaboration. That probably wouldn't have happened years ago. So it's just neat to see the progress that we have, and always be watching from afar.
Well, what do you think the toughest problems are going forward? You're going to be sitting in a Power 5 school in a league. Memphis, let's face it, the rumors are out there. Memphis has a chance if the Big 12 expands. I'm not going to ask you particularly about that, but what do you think really are the biggest issues that Memphis has in order to stay competitive in any league?
Yeah. Now, first off, I'll be rooting and lobbying for Memphis in the Big 12s, because I'd love to, nothing more than to come back here a couple times a year and see all the great friends. But, I mean, first and foremost, the biggest issue looming at Memphis is just financial. Just to put it candidly, and I think everybody will tell you that. We do more with less, but I'm telling you, when I first got here, us and Ole Miss had the same budget in 2012. We were both right around 50, 55 million.
Really?
Yep. And since then, we're about 60, 62, and Ole Miss is, well over 100. They're almost, triple our budget. So what fans and everything have to realize is we need investments. We need people to buy season tickets, show up to games, donate. And I know it's a broken record, but we can't do it without, the support of Memphians. So that is going to be key. And there's so many pressures financially right now. You think about it. We got to make sure enrollment's trending up, and that's always, tough. It's becoming tougher across the nation, but just so many, facilities, investments in coaches, and NIL, frankly, we've been pushing, that and supporting that in terms of to our donor base that want to do that. But sometimes it's another bucket, and they have to choose, hey, I can give you X dollars, or I can give it to NIL, and so that it has impacted us a little bit. So it's going to be just a continuing struggle to make sure that we support all those to be successful.
I want to go. You're the perfect guy to ask about this. You came in traditional fundraising, learning from R.C. Johnson and that school of fundraising, okay? Now you've got NIL where your coach is in competition kind of with you. What do you think is going to happen with the NIL situation, and how tough has it been for the U of M? You had Penny going, this is getting out of hand, and that's your coach that you're working hand in hand with, and sometimes he might be looking at the same guy you are for money.
Yeah, no, and I get the pressure, but if we don't get the NIL support, we don't have the players. If we don't have the players, we're not going to win, and then everything else kind of falls apart. Right. So it is crucial, and so we know that, and so hopefully. And we've had several donors do this. It's an and, right? It's not an or. It's, hey, I can give you money and on top of NIL. That's the ideal situation. But Penny's right. We need the support. I personally don't like it, being a student athlete, but that's the new era. That's where we're at. And I think hopefully this will calm down a little bit. The first 2 years have been obviously all over the board. Hopefully it calms down a little bit. I think there's going to be hopefully some federal legislation, but you'll probably see this shift in the years to come of some type of, whether it be model of revenue share or whatnot, with the student athletes. It's kind of trickling that way, but it definitely is. It definitely is a factor. But we need to support our coaches, so it's tough. You got another bucket to fill, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, I for one, am going to miss you. I love our road trips. I love sampling a little of that bourbon that you've become so masterful with your palate. But hopefully we'll see you every once in a while, that's for sure. I know I'll see you tonight and on the golf course on Friday.
That sounds great. And drinks are always on me, Wolo.
I love that. Thank you much, buddy.
Thank you, Wolo.
That is our friend
Tigers.
Adam Walker, going back to Kansas State, where he's going to be the president of their entire alumni association. Big job for him, getting to go home with his wife and his 2 children now. Big move, that is for sure, after 13 years here. Final portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows you're making a commitment. He commits with you. 751-1632, that's his number. Go to his website, kengarland.com. See what he and his dad before him, for about 60-some years now, they built palaces all around Memphis. They use the latest technology. Sometimes you don't want to leave, so he'll do a renovation. I call it renovation with innovation. He takes all the modern amenities and rebuilds your home to become something special. All you got to do is go to kengarland.com, and then you'll want to talk to him. He sees little details, big picture all at once. He's special. He's Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. That'll do it for us tomorrow. Pete Pranica on the NBA draft, the Grizzlies, the Josh suspension. Talk with him about that. And then we will pick the Travelers. That's all tomorrow. See you then. Johnny's next.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis